Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to another episode of Friends of the Squared Circle, where I'm your host, Cranderq, a.k.a. my real name. Now, as you can see, we have our beautiful co-host here. We've got the Panda, Red Panda Extreme, the figure collecting machine, the king of old school. How you doing today, Chad?
I'm not too bad. Yourself?
Perfect. Now, you're going to be coming in to help us with this little segment we call Friends of the Squared Circle and Show Me the Collectibles. As you can see, everybody, he is the figure collecting machine. Yes, that is the king of old school there, Chad, for us. Now we're going to plug these quick sponsors here. I know you all know about them already, but those who don't know, again, huge shout out to Darren Corbin for sponsoring this podcast here. You can follow Darren on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. And another great way to support Darren is on Patreon, patreon.com/Darren Corbin. He's going through an injury right now. It's a good way to show him some love. And as well as our other sponsor here, Superior Creations. You can follow them on facebook.com/Superior Creations MN for all your custom tumbler needs. We got Darren Corbin there and Eric Cannon. Yes, those are some beautiful tumblers. And last but not least, I want to give a huge shout out to the boys at 13 Cards, subject to change, for helping us with that vendor table at the last two shows. Huge shout out to them. All right, Chad, how was your day down there in beautiful sunny Florida?
Oh, not too bad. It's nice and 80 degrees and sunny.
Oh, I don't have any envy for you at all. I prefer the cold. That's why I live where I live. So, without further ado, let's bring in our guest today and jump right into this here. How you doing, Oliver?
Doing all right. How are you guys?
Oh, we are doing great. Another great, beautiful day in Superior, Wisconsin, where it's cold and exciting.
Did I just hear 80 degrees?
Yes.
Can I switch spots with you? Because I like the warm more than the cold.
Oh, you don't want to be down here in the summer, though, bro. It is brutal. I work in a similar job to Cranderq, a.k.a. Kale here. And our schools don't have hallways. It's like 5 or 6 separate buildings. And I have to walk in between all of those multiple times a day.
Yep.
And it is sweltering hot.
Oh, I can't. No.
But if you come to my beautiful school, I have the ability to turn on the air conditioning and set the temperature in any room or hallway that feels right. You can just call me the glacier of my school. Oh, boy. That was a horrible plug.
I do a lot of van driving for the school district here in Minnesota, so I get to enjoy my car AC most of the summer.
Just rubbing it in your face there, Chad.
Hey, I get to enjoy the AC when I go inside, but then I end up freezing because I'm sweating so bad from being outside.
Oh, boy. All right, well, we'll jump right into this interview. I'm sure people are excited to hear about what we do in our regular basis jobs, but they're here for one thing only, and that's the wrestling. So, Oliver, why don't you give us your first memories of wrestling there?
My first memories of wrestling would have to be watching it with my father back in the old Attitude Era.
Okay.
One of my favorite wrestlers back then was Mankind, back when he was actually Mankind. And I grew out of him and went and directed more towards like the Hardy Boys.
Okay.
So I watched it mainly back then. I think it was only on Mondays that I would watch it.
Okay.
And my dad would get lectured for my grandmother because me and my brothers would be trying to do a lot of the wrestling moves, and then one of us would get hurt, of course. And
The tale old as time.
yeah, but if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have pursued wrestling and gotten into wrestling. So,
Gotcha.
See, I didn't have any siblings when I was until I was 11. So I had. Do you remember the My Buddy doll?
Yep, the Wrestle Buddies.
No, my buddy. Like the jingle was like my buddy, my buddy, my buddy and me, and then they had the spin-off Kid Sister.
I don't remember that one. No.
Oh, you might be too young for that one.
Like the boy Cabbage Patch doll, if I'm right. Right?
Kind of.
Blonde hair, red suspenders.
Yep.
Yep. Okay.
Mine was.
I mean, he did mention that he grew up with the Attitude Era. So I mean, you and I are probably more, the golden age and the end of the AWA days. So not to age you there, Oliver. Sorry, not to put you down. We're old.
Yeah, so my buddy was my little brother that I beat the crap out of. I would jump off the arm of the couch like it was the top rope and do elbow drops and knee drops onto this thing, and yeah. Not so fun on a hardwood floor, but
yeah,
it makes it tough.
I was about to say, how many times did you crack your knee wide open by missing the buddy?
Surprisingly, never.
Really?
I did get some major cramps though.
So you mentioned Mankind. What was it about Mankind that kind of drew you to that character at the beginning?
Just the fact that I didn't really. I think it was more like the underdog character.
Okay.
Because you see this character who is unlike anyone else in the business at that time, and you're like, okay, everyone's giving him crap, but he's still going out there and trying to kick people's butt. And at that time, I'm like, I want to root for this guy.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of his matches, I would sit down and I would watch. I would have the Mankind figure, and I would look up at my dad and be like, I want him to win. And my dad would always kind of just laugh at me about it because he knew. He's like, I got him with one thing because I have a ADHD.
Okay.
And the only thing that kept my attention would be wrestling. And that's the only time I would actually physically sit for more than just 10 minutes. And that's why I drifted towards it. I think it was all the pretty lights and the pyro and everything from back in the day.
Definitely. Yeah, I know with Mankind, what kind of drew me to him is I was a huge Dustin fan. As you can see behind me, I got some Dustin and Dusty stuff there. Was just that kind of team they had when they wrestled Undertaker, and they put him in the casket, and I just remember Mankind's screech and, just being a dark and mysterious wrestler. And then I believe he had the Boiling Room match with the Undertaker, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So, any thoughts on Mankind there, Chad?
So I was a big Cactus Jack fan. I watched more WCW than WWE in the early 90s. And then they got Hogan and they went downhill and they fired Cactus Jack.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of drifted over to WWE more because I actually got that on basic cable where I was living at the time. And then he came in as Mankind, and I was like, what the hell is this crap? But then I actually ended up liking Mankind a lot. And I think the three personas encapsulate Mick Foley as a person. Like the Cactus Jack being the dangerous, I don't care if I win, I just want to hurt somebody. Mankind going from that dark, not accepted character to being accepted and then becoming a complete goof. Mm-hmm. And then, Dude Love just being a goof was awesome.
Now,
go
ahead, sorry.
Mick Foley, not to plug another podcast, but his podcast is a must listen to.
Mm-hmm.
Especially the early episodes when they do the Blue Chew commercials. It's
yeah, I just found that one. Foley's pod. Yep. Oliver, did you like any of the other faces of Foley, or were you strictly into that Mankind persona? Because for me, it was always Mankind. Like the original, I always thought that was my favorite.
See, I love how people say there was three faces to Foley. There was the Cactus Jack, Dude Love, and Mankind. But there was actually four because there was times that he wrestled underneath Mick Foley himself.
Oh yeah, the corporate. Yep.
So I'm a fan of every single face that he did because it's so difficult to come up with a character, let alone three different ones,
Mm-hmm.
and do them so well. I mean, he even played Santa a few times.
Yeah, I mean, yep.
He does that all the time now. Like that's like one of his full-time gigs is being Santa for kids, and that's commendable. That's one of the things that I would like to eventually do is be like a tatted up badass Santa for kids.
I am solely gonna support that 110% because that is cool. I wouldn't do it because I just my own little personal thing, but that would be pretty sweet to see big old Santa walk through the door, especially tatted up. That's great.
Come in and be like, "What the hell do you want, kids?"
Just toys. So you also mentioned the Hardy Boys, Oliver. I'm sure I already know kind of what the mystique with them was, but what was your personal attraction to them?
I was a young kid, and I had a crush on Lita.
There it is. I mean, how can you argue that? I mean, I'm not going to say it because Amy's going to listen to this later and hear me fangirling over another redhead. Randy, take a shot.
Yeah, I think everybody had a crush on Lita.
I mean, how could you not?
Yes.
I mean, she had her underwear hanging out half the time.
That too. Yep. I mean, when she first started out to where she ultimately got, I mean, she did leave her mark on the business as a phenomenal performer, which was a stepping stone for the next wave of women wrestling. Well, unfortunately, that kind of went into the more the bra and panties stuff, which, in my opinion, wasn't really wrestling. It was just the in-between rah-rah shit. But, yeah, Lita definitely is a pioneer in women's wrestling for sure.
A lot of Lita's matches with Trish really set apart. Because what am I trying to say here? With Lita, there was still bra and panty matches. I think that was just somebody trying to stroke his own ego and everything. But then you had the matches between Lita and Trish that really set apart what they do as performers compared to what McMahon wanted for that time frame.
Yeah.
Which was to grossly sexualize women.
Yes.
And that's what bugged me is I don't get how that was okay back then. And some of the stuff that he made, like Trish do in a few of his promos, like making her bark like a dog and everything. That kind of turned me off of wrestling a little bit because you see this dude of power just kind of just dehumanizing another person.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's why I'm happy that once that era kind of ended and they got rid of those matches, you can't even find those matches, I don't think, anymore. So they actually focused on wrestling instead of trying to make them feel like an object.
Exactly.
A lot of these women are athletes and they didn't just come from the supermodel world as a lot of people think. So, by the way, how is your fiance?
Randy, take a shot. He already knows what we're doing here. She is great. She's currently at work. I'm glad because if she heard me talking about a redhead, she'd break down that door and whoop me up. So I'm sure Chad can back me up on this claim as well as you, Oliver. With Lita and Trish, I mean, their name is thrown around a lot with the likes of Becky, Charlotte, and all them. Like, they wanted to be wrestlers because of them. And I feel like the women now are even sometimes tenfold better than the men athletically wise in this sport because they came into it wanting to be wrestlers versus the ones that came in for the diva searches and just wanted to get to, popularity so they could continue their brand, not to throw Playboy in there, but they were using that as a stepping stone to get more an entertainment aspect of it, where Becky, Charlotte, and them actually want to be wrestlers.
And here's the funniest part is the women's wrestlers today still don't get the right time of day.
Mm-hmm.
I feel, because there's 2 matches, but if you look at Raw, it's 3 hours long. There's no reason why we can't have 3 to maybe 3.5 matches.
Okay.
With the promo in there. And just kind of mix it up a little bit more. Why not have every other match, one being the guys, the other one being the female? Because you take a look at the talent that they have, Nikki Cross wasn't being used for months, and her persona, not the Nikki ASH, but the Nikki Cross persona, was so good. She could have literally been the next Sister Abigail. And no one would have been, shocked by it. So, the way I look at it is they have a lot of females on their roster that's being underutilized.
Yes.
And you have, a beast like Tamina that you rarely hear from besides every now and again. You have Charlotte that is currently on her honeymoon, I believe, that you haven't heard from. That's part of the reason I feel like Sasha Banks and Naomi left, is they feel like they're being undermined. They want to show what they have, and you let the guys show what they have, but you don't let them really... You don't give them the time slot to be able to show their athleticism, their charisma and everything else. That's part of the reason Bianca Belair has held the title for so long, is you can't judge a woman's wrestler just based off of a 10-minute match. And the 10-minute match being 9 times out of 10 the champion versus someone else.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to figure out why Alexa Bliss is with Bianca Belair right now when she was in the title picture not too long ago. So it's one of those confusing things with wrestling. Sorry, my cat's meowing.
No, you're good. I don't hear it. So,
is why with the women's revolution, why aren't they being utilized more?
Makes sense, yeah.
One of the things, not to defend anybody on this, but it's roster depth. And with them having so few women, maybe they, instead of, having more matches per se, just giving them more time. Instead of it being either the title match and maybe a 6-woman tag match, maybe they should split that up. But with the lack of talent that they have on their rosters, that's probably why they don't have more segments. But with the amount that they have, they can do more. And one of the things that is weird now, I despise Vince Russo as a writer, but one thing that he did for WWE in the Attitude Era was everybody had a story. And, I mean, to an extent they do now, but, I love the Bloodline storyline, but it takes up so much time on every broadcast. It's not just Raw. It's both Raw and SmackDown. And for them to give that much time to that program every single week, I feel like is overexposing it. And they should give more time to the female talent so that they can get over to that extent. And, Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair headlining WrestleMania was amazing. Like,
Mhm.
They would have had more fanfare surrounding it if they had built the women's roster to make that. Not saying that it didn't mean enough, because it meant a lot, but it could have meant more had they had the proper backing for the women's division, which sadly, with Vince McMahon at the helm, the only focus was really the main event
Yeah.
of the men's side.
And with that too, like I know AEW, I've heard struggling with that too. Like, they say they're pushing them, but they only get like a few minutes here and there. I mean, you got Jade Cargill, who's undefeated, and then she's not really in the title picture. I know there's different storylines, but you think someone that dominant would be, your primary champion. And I'm not trying to like bash on AEW too much, but same with that interim, they finally just got rid of that, which was kind of like an asterisk on a thing, which ultimately, it's something different. But with Toni Storm not getting the recognition as a champion till after she loses the belt, that she was considered the AEW champion.
The thing with that though too is like Jade Cargill's storyline to me is way more compelling than anything that they have been doing with the main title. So
Yep.
what is it, the TBS title? That means more to a lot of fans right now than the actual women's title, because Jade Cargill has had some of the best progression of anybody in the sport the past 2 years, and she's been beating everybody. It's almost to the point of who's going to take the title off of her.
Yep.
Because I don't think that they have anybody that could. Maybe Jamie Hayter, but I mean, what are you going to do? Have her take the title off from Jade Cargill, and then Jade Cargill take the world title off from I don't know. It's a jumbled mess, but
because you just gave the title to Hayter, are you gonna have your secondary champion beat her because she's more dominant? And then it's just like, then everybody's just gonna say, well, you just put the belt on her, now it means nothing. Well, she's the most dominant champion. Why can't you put both of them on her for a while? And then eventually she just relinquishes the title because she doesn't need it anymore, and then she can continue to go with that women's championship, or someone beats her and then they can run off with the TBS title when she can keep the one. But then you're running into the same thing with WWE, somebody already with 2 belts, so then it's going to be called copy. Like, there's so many things you could do, but then there's always the negative.
See, here's the thing. You have Jade Cargill, who is undefeated right now, and she's holding a belt similar to WWE. But you never seen her in a fatal 4-way. You never seen her, I don't think, in a triple threat, where she can lose the belt but still remain strong.
Yep.
So there's alternatives to take the belt off of her for her to face Hayter. It's just a lot of the people are trying to figure out who to pin her against. You have, I feel like, Britt Baker, you have Toni Storm. You need to have like a decent face that they can get behind.
Yeah.
And Hayter kind of turned into a face, I feel, more and more, and then they kind of hold her back with Britt Baker to continue that storyline.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they're gonna tease that for a while and then end up having them split off. I just hope, I don't know. I feel like if they were to do that, they would need to switch the title with that, but at the same time, you know, having Britt Baker as the champion again, I'm not a fan of Britt Baker. I don't know.
I'm talking about her being the TBS champion.
Oh, okay.
Not the women's champion.
Yeah.
You do a fatal 4-way with Jade Cargill, have Britt Baker pin, someone in the match, top baby face, and that way Jade Cargill still remains strong, and then you can kind of do a storyline with Jade Cargill and Britt Baker, because with Britt, she has numerous people that can cheat.
Yeah, I mean...
So it's a way to get the belt off of Jade without necessarily her physically losing.
Yeah. But then it comes like the question of when will they make her lose? Because that's, most wrestlers will tell you that they've lost a majority of their matches, and that's I see it. If it runs too long, it'll be almost Goldberg-esque, where after he lost, he kind of lost his luster a bit and wasn't booked properly afterwards, like when he went to WWE the first time and everything. They need somebody that, and no offense to Tony Khan, because I think he's doing a fairly decent job at booking his roster, but they need somebody that knows how to build her strong after she loses as well, so that she doesn't slide down the card or lose popularity.
Is there anybody on the roster that you feel that could do that, or do they need to bring in someone else? I know they've brought in a lot, but I mean, is there someone out there now that could potentially be that person, or is there somebody in-house that you guys think that could take that?
I think it would have to be somebody in-house, because it seems, I don't know, it seems counterintuitive to your product to bring somebody in from outside to beat your champion. Like, occasionally, yes, but, CM Punk coming in and winning the title. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm still a CM Punk fan. I know he's kind of a toxic person, but, having somebody come in from the outside just to win your major title within however long seems counterintuitive, like, on a lot of levels.
See, I would have had Athena win it back when she faced Athena.
Okay.
Because at least then you can go back and forth with her a little bit more. They literally had it to where Athena lost twice, and then they moved forward. Instead of having a decent... They don't have a decent storyline for Cargill right now. Once she wins again, she moves forward. They're not setting up anything to build her competitor. Unless if it's going to be one of the baddies that she just fired on Wednesday for not helping her back when she faced Nyla Rose. But that's the only issue right now, is there's no one with the level of popularity that the fans will kind of get behind when you keep only letting a few matches and then you're not really building towards anything else.
Yeah, and they don't want to get in the trap of, putting Britt back in there too, because then it's always Britt, and then it turns into the Charlotte thing. Why is it always the same person? Anything else on this quick summary? Then we can segue back to more about Oliver here. We kind of went on a little tangent about women's wrestling, which is fine. But anything else on this here?
My only thing is they still have a few more matches with Nyla Rose and Jade Cargill because Nyla pretty much dominated her for a lot of the match. So I feel like they built them both strong, but Nyla still has a claim to being number one contender in my book.
Okay. Anything else on there for you, Oliver?
No, I actually fully agree with that, but it's just they have to remember to keep bringing Nyla back.
Yes.
Nyla has a match here and there, and then she disappears from TV for a while. You have to keep bringing her back, whether that means that you do, disqualifications to where Cargill still goes over strong. Whatever that may be, you need to be able to see Nyla Rose turning into a face instead of Nyla Rose still playing this heel gimmick.
Yes.
Gotcha. Alrighty. So we'll close that up just because we kind of went off topic, which, again, is fine. What were some of your first live events that you remember going to, Oliver?
My first ever... Are we talking independent or are we talking...
Yeah, independents, WWE, any other promotions that you might have just got able to go as a kid or even when you were an adult, anytime that you remember your first live events?
I actually ended up working for MIW a little bit when I was a kid because my uncle did referee work for him.
Oh, okay.
And the promoter needed help with the ring. So I ended up working ring crew trying to, build up who I was and, kind of get my name out there a little bit because I knew that was something that I was looking forward to. Is, working out was my thing back then. And I knew I needed to gain a little bit of muscle. So that one was a show with Horace the Psychopath, I think, was on it.
Okay.
And I remember watching him and thinking to myself, where did he find how to channel this different persona?
Mm-hmm.
And I just started liking a lot of MIW, and then my first pro WWE event was a house show, and I was sitting second row. My uncle got tickets and everything, and I remember yelling at Randy Orton, and then Randy told me to shut the bleep up. So me being a kid and being a little bit skittish, I was like, yes, sir, and sat right back down. My first AEW event was actually, I think it was Full Gear.
Okay. Was that the one that was in the Twin Cities then?
Yeah.
Okay. I believe I was at the MAW show meeting Kurt Angle that weekend, so not to name drop too much, but...
Speaking of Angle, I went to SmackDown Your Vote Counts back in the day.
Okay.
And they had Kurt Angle, Hurricane, Ken Anderson, and there was one other person. I can't remember who the other person was, but he was such a great person to meet back then. And Ken Anderson actually almost spat water at my I call her my aunt, but she's not actually my aunt because I guess they used to do that back when he was wrestling locally before he got signed with WWE.
Gotcha.
So that I wish that they would do more like that again, where it's, you're not only promoting voting, which is something that we all should do, but you also get to meet a lot of the stars now.
Mm-hmm.
because now it's getting a lot of hit and miss, meeting the top stars. Because they're so busy with more famous people than with fans.
Gotcha.
So.
Well, then a lot of people don't know you are in the wrestling world. What was it that drove you? Because I know you're a ref. Have you done anything else with wrestling? And what got you to that? Like, was there somebody that influenced you, or?
I was doing ring crew a lot from like my teenage years till like my early 20s. And I was doing a show for ring crew with the 1029 Bar and Grill. It's the yearly show where Buddha normally comes out. I don't know if you guys know who he is. And the promoter needed a referee. And he kind of was looking around, threw a ref shirt at me and said, "You just got promoted." So I ended up working my first referee match at the 1029. And after that, I'm like, I kind of like this. I was going underneath Mateo Williams at that time. Because I went with my friend who passed away from cancer. I used his name and then my middle name. And then I worked a few NLW Northern Lights wrestling shows.
Okay, yeah.
And then I worked for Showtime for a benefit show. And they refused to let me use Mateo Williams because it was used for NLW.
Okay.
So he's like, you have to come up with a completely different name. And how I came up with Oliver Williams was I was scanning through my favorite TV shows at the time, trying to pair some of my favorite characters for the TV show to my last name. Now I chose Oliver. Can anyone think of any Olivers from TV shows?
Cousin Oliver from the Brady Bunch?
No.
Green Arrow?
Yes. Yes. So I went with that because I liked when he got called Ollie.
Mm-hmm.
And so after that, I started working on and off with IWI and MAW. Then me and MAW kind of parted ways mutually, and IWI folded up. So after that, I went with a promotion out in the Dakotas, who I'm not going to name. But we, there was some hardship with them.
Okay.
The promoter kind of ran the promotion like a dictatorship.
Oh, not good.
And then I ended up getting a flat tire, and I couldn't make it to the show. And I did the proper thing. I messaged the locker room person, and I got bashed on so much. Like, for my weight, they thought I was lying, and just a whole toxic environment. So at that point, I was like, I was thinking about retiring because I lost all hope with wrestling because it just took a lot out of me to deal with such venomousness from a locker room. And I took some time off, and I was trying to figure out what else to do. I told my wife, I'm like, I think I'm just going to be done. Because at that point, I started gaining more weight and, got diagnosed with diabetes.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, I kind of just fell into my own depression from the whole scenario to the point where I didn't want to do anything. I was kept on losing work and kind of just kept falling more and more into depression. But the reason I plug the summit so much every now and again is those two were with me for the trips to the Dakotas.
Mm-hmm.
Built a family around that. And they were the ones that kind of pulled me out of my rut and wanted me to go to more shows with them and everything else to kind of get my face out there with my beautiful beard. And ever since then, I've been working on my diabetes and working on losing weight. And
That's good.
I got a upcoming booking with All Out Pro Wrestling.
Okay.
I don't know when this will be released, so I don't want to say the date. But that will be coming up here next month.
Okay.
I'm finally getting back into wrestling again.
That's good. And that's the beautiful thing about wrestling. Little backstory here with Chad and I. We met through Instagram. Which, I mean, he had his stuff up. I just chatted a few times. Next thing you know, what has it been? 6 years, Chad? 7 years?
Around there.
Chat almost every other day, and that's the one thing I love about wrestling is that it brings us together. Hence the name of my little silly show, Friends of the Squared Circle. And it's great to see you back out there. I know I've seen you at a few shows, Oliver. Just keep hitting those goals, set them small, and you'll keep accomplishing anything. And that's why I want to make this a positive environment as much as I can. Because wrestling, brought me out of a semi-dark place. It was just, breakup, first real love. And that's when I really started collecting the DVDs, and then led me into this crazy wrestling world where now I've met Chad, I've met you. You and your wife were just a blast to hang out with at the last show. And I can't thank you enough for, being a friend and being a friend of the Squared Circle. Because that's what I want this community to be, is just a bunch of people who love the same thing, having a bunch of fun and keeping the drama out of it.
Yeah. Drama-free environment is always good, and as you can tell, I got your hat on with your sexy beard.
I did not pay him to wear that hat. I did bribe his wife a bunch to plug my socials, though. So.
And, yeah, my wife enjoyed helping you out, and I know she enjoyed trying to find the non-Otis in those bags.
Not a fan at all of Otis at all.
Well, the messed up thing is I even have the Funko Pop, so I was like,
nice.
I could kind of put it right by there.
There you go. If she would have just kept all that free merch she would have got, so.
Yeah.
Within closing, anything else from you, Chad, there? We'll kind of wrap this up here. Anything else from you?
I have a quick question. Not to put you on the spot, you ever have so technically two questions. What's your favorite moment of being in the wrestling industry?
I have two. I was working for a promotion out of Wisconsin. And I got to drive Sabu and his wife to the show in Chautauqua. And I figured out that Sabu's name and his wife's name, his name is the same name as my brother. And his wife, who has passed away, her name is the same as my sister-in-law. So it was kind of like one of those funniest moments is trying to figure out how to go about talking to them without laughing because of the fact that just imagining my brother dating my sister-in-law or being married to my sister-in-law was just a funny thing to think about. But driving those two, the stories that Sabu told of like the ECW locker rooms and everything, and a promoter not paying one of the boys back in the day, and him just going into business for himself with a promoter, which is amazing. The other one is I was sharing the locker room with Eugene, Nick Densmore, and I accidentally left my phone out. And it was a APW show. And I get back from inside the ring. I was going to text my wife to grab me some grub because I was getting a little hungry. And I opened my phone to photos. And it was Nick Densmore and his gimmicks. And he took a picture of himself laughing, his crotch with his pants on, and everything else. And I've shared quite a few locker rooms with him since, and the ribs he does with the boys to keep us all nice and, loose and playful are just amazing. Like, I was sitting there after a Crush Pro show, and I'm, like, putting my stuff on and everything else, and he's like, hey. I'm like, hey. And he kind of shows me his down below and says, does this look like bubblegum?
Okay.
And I just laugh because, I heard stories of that, but I never had it happen to me until that moment.
I'm glad I don't chew gum anymore.
So that's a few stories that I've loved about wrestling and some of the stuff that I've gotten to enjoy about it.
Yeah.
All right. So my other question is, so I know, because I used to be an over-the-road trucker, sometimes going to these shows, you don't really get to eat the best of foods. You ever have an experience where you're out in front of the crowd and nature calls?
Every time I go to hit the curtain, doesn't matter how many times I pee. Like, the second I have to go out there, I get dressed and everything. I normally go pee beforehand because, that's what we do. And right before I hit the curtain, it's like, oh, crap, now I got to pee again. And if I'm working a whole show, I have to wait till intermission. Like, I've reffed a whole show having to pee because it was out in, like, the boonies, and the only thing that he had was his house bathroom. But I didn't feel like taking off my shoes and putting on my street shoes to run into his house to take off my shoes again, to use his bathroom, to put my shoes back on, to take them. Yeah, it was just way too much. So I literally held it, and the show did not start until 1 a.m. because it was a pre-recorded show. And I had to pee at like 5 p.m.
Oh, geez.
When I was ready. So the show didn't get over until like the wee hours of the morning. And I remember he actually was nice enough to buy us dinner at the gas station up the road because they had a restaurant in there. And I remember, when you go from warm to cold, and you're like, I gotta pee like now. Yeah. So I ran into this gas station, and I'm like, I gotta go like now. And oh yeah. So some of those, it's so hard to have to hold it for so long that I wish that I was Hornswoggle. I wish I could roll underneath the ring and just go into a bottle.
That's a beautiful story.
Best thing to do, take a ref bump, roll under the ring, pee in a bottle, come back out.
See, when you're the only ref, it's kind of difficult to do a ref bump because you have to wait till the main event because otherwise it makes no sense.
Oh,
always hide a mask under there. Come back out as a masked ref.
There we
I
go.
actually just got a mask last year for a referee mask. I got it from a guy down in Mexico who sent it to me as a gift. Maybe the next time I'll show you guys the mask because my living room.
Yeah, we'll get you on here for a part tour. Have to unpack some of those Sabu Road stories.
Oh man, yeah, definitely, because some of them are not very PG, so we might have to make it a PG-13 Friends of the Square Circle.
Oh, I take it off the kid. I had it on the kids programming before, but now I've just put not for kids. So, but alrighty. Well, Oliver, again, I can't thank you enough for coming on.
Yeah.
All that help at the merch table. Hopefully, we see you soon here on the indie circuit. and continue to just hang out, chat, bug your wife, all that fun stuff. Anywhere we can find you on social media. If not, anything else you want to plug before we kick you out of here, as I like to call it?
It's Ref Oliver Williams up on Facebook. Go ahead and drop me a like there.
Yeah.
I'm also on Twitter and TikTok too.
Perfect.
And
Yeah,
I do got to plug one more thing. I got to say your fiance 5 more times, so he takes your shot 5 more times.
Yeah, Amy, she's doing great. Randy, take a shot. You know what? Take 5 shots because Oliver said so. And I know I'll screenshot that when he said that. That's not the rules. That's not how it works. I guarantee you that's what he's going to say. But
What's
again,
her name?
Oliver.
Her name is Amy, right?
Yeah, my fiance Amy. Randy, take a shot.
And what does Amy do for work? Your fiance Amy?
Oh yeah, my fiance Amy. Randy, take a shot. She works at the local animal hospital, so she deals with animals who act like Randy.
Oh well, make sure you give your fiance Amy a nice little hug for me because I love animal lovers.
Perfect. All right, Randy, one more shot for you. Suck it up and do it. And again, Oliver, I can't thank you enough for taking the time out of your day here. We'll kick you to the lounge, and then we'll chat real quick at the end here.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, guys.
All right, appreciate it. All right. We are done with another episode of Friends of the Squared Circle. It's your boy, Cranderq, a.k.a. my real name, and my boy,
King of Old School.
Perfect. Now, Chad, we're going to be doing more of these. I'm excited. Anything else you want to plug before we take her home here?
Follow us on social media. Smash that like button, or I will smash you.
Perfect. Goodbye. And don't forget to check out our sponsors here at Friends of the Squared Circle. Your boy, Darren Corbin, who is on all social media platforms at Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, and yes, Darren Corbin is on TikTok. Give him a like and follow, as well as check out his Patreon, starting out at just $1 at patreon.com/Darren Corbin. Darren's going through an injury right now, so this is the best way to help support him. And one last shout out to our Superior Creations for all your custom tumbler needs there. Check them out at facebook.com/Superior Creations MN for all your custom tumbler needs. And that's it. It's your boy Cranderq with the King of Old School. Cranderq out.